and then rocket toss. And, we started talking the triple talk. We talked about the answers and solutions being within the offense. And so as we go through some of those things that came up, the tight squeeze defensive ends, the deep fast flow linebackers, various coverage looks, the hard corner dilemma. On the flip side, tight plug, defensive, tight plug linebackers, that are really creating a wad in your dive games, not being very productive. Maybe the interior on those key matchups in triple or the dive block or those drive blocks, and you're just getting defensive linemen are playing just up the field, right? And all of a sudden triple's no good. They're forcing gives, or it's struggling because they're forcing gives, and your guard's getting his ass kicked. What's the complement? So I think these are some of the three huge ones for us within the under center part. The three most important. We do have some. We carry 5 different dives, and just flat handed off dive variations. Some of them are good against every front, but most of them are pretty front look specific. But that is an area where we have a pretty broad inventory, and I think. Number one, I said that our quarterback this year had more carries than any other, option program this year. And there's got to be ways to get the ball out of his hands. I mean, you saw him, he's a really explosive player. And with the ball in his hands, he probably is the best player on the field on offense. I expect him to be one of those guys that, a year from now, as he continues to develop as a quarterback and in the pass game, if he can do the things that I think he can do with a cast around him, I'm hoping he's on the the Walter Payton watch list. At the end of the year, I think he should be up for Player of the Year in our conference next year. I think he's that type of guy. But on the flip side, he's got to stay healthy, and when within things when the ball's getting forced into his hands, we got to have ways to get it out. That's another reason that we do things. In the shotgun, it gives us the opportunity to hand the ball off and get it to the perimeter. Gives us a whole nother set of dives. And the shotgun, truthfully, gives us a lot in the quick passing game that we don't have under center, and an additional set of vertical play actions that I think are easy. I think in terms of the big picture complements in our offense, that's kind of where it's at. But I think these are kind of our cores and kind of the best from each family. So an interior, obviously, with midline, an interior double option. In the dive family with belly G, a true perimeter double option where we can get all hats blocked, get it to perimeter. And then with toss, the way we can guarantee getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands and getting it to grass. All right, so just real quick, just big picture stuff. Reasons, that make midline a core complement for us. Number one, it is a very safe play by front. It's good against almost all fronts. There's one or two looks that really give it, issues. It's a very downhill play in the dive family. So just in general, in the nature of the offense, it's an on-schedule play. We ran midline a ton this year. We were really efficient with it. And kind of our takeaway as we watched our cut-ups was that, when other things weren't going well, this was a play we relied on a ton. And that part of it, I just think having another play in there that you can rely on to read people and get things out of, it was critical for us this past season. Again, if you're getting a 3 technique, to the field, this is your kind of 3 technique play. It's a great play against a 3 tech. We'll still run it against a 2 and a 1. We'll still run it against a shade. Okay, we'll run it based depending on different fronts. We'll run it against all those looks. But it is a great, if you're going to play a 3 technique to the field all game, you're going to play a 3 technique up the field. You're going to play him even in a thick, a 2, and he's going to be an ass kicker and play up the field and try to not let your drive block get movement, play at the line of scrimmage. Again, this is a great play for us to complement that. Those deep, fast flow backers, by nature, if you got a deep mic and they're wide, deep, running out of there, playing fast flow, you're creating a light box. It's a great way to attack it inside out. Cover 2, specific to cover 2, those safeties are irrelevant in the box now. And, it's the same area really any offense wants to be able to attack against a big cover 2 team. You need to attack the interior the inside triangle. This is our way of doing that. You know, additionally in the dive families. And then, you know, multiple looks and influence with motion. What I mean is that, you know, multiple looks by formation. This is a great, safe play. Like if you do like us, we're not a big, unbalanced or tight end formation team, but this is a great play to run early on to see what their adjustment's going to be, particularly to that nub side. You know, it's a really good play to see, you know, all right, we feel good about this. Let's line up, let's call it, let's run it, and let's see what's their adjustment. And then I think also in terms of changing the, you know, I talk about the influence with motion. Based on defense, you'll see we have multiple ways of using different motions with it to change the influence on the safeties. You know, in general, it is a play. In general, it is a play where there's going to be an extra hat to the party from the second level. I tell the quarterbacks on this play all the time, expect there to be, you know, a safety in the hole. He's going to be yours to meet. We're going to be great at the point of attack. We're going to get the linebackers handled, but there is going to be a safety hat that you have to beat. We try to manipulate that as much as possible. I'll show you some of these different looks based on front by the use of the motions. and kind of hit on the head too, that other part. It's a great information gathering play in general. I love plays early in a game, you know, both for run game purposes, pass game purposes. When you look at, you know, we don't really script really our first 10, but there are certain plays to me, like if you're doing things by formation, you want to get a beat on rotation and fits, what your play action and complements are going to be as you come, you know, to those situations. There's really good plays that are safe that you can gather information. This is one of those plays. We do. I don't have any of that stuff. Now, it is good. So midline triple, I distinguish between midline triple, okay, and this is what, and then a mid pitch, all right? And so again, and it falls into a lot of different schemes. The quarterback needs to know, am I protected on the crease, all right? In our mid pitch schemes, there is nobody blocking for the quarterback, right? So his attitude changes, right? I've talked exclusively within our triple schemes about playing inside out, as tight as you can, replace the dive key, right? Do those things. As soon as he goes to a scheme where he's, you know, a mid-pitch scheme, his thought process now changed to read a loose, number one, read a loose dive key or a 3 technique, and get it pitched off the pitch key unless you can't. In our mid-pitch game, really, it's a way of, when you watch these, it's a way of running speed option, but not fast flow speed option. You know, you're getting, because you're meshing with midline, you're getting inside backers to fit, you're getting safeties to fit, but you're still trying to get it pitched off the end. So it's a great core perimeter complement for us. It really is. Yeah.
Because we got that backside backer and the middle backer, all of a sudden they're flowing over.
Right.
And they're almost unblocked. And a backside backer gets a sweet crease right at the quarterback.
So against yeah, exactly. So against 4-3, I mean, the first year we put it in, we gashed people, we killed people with it. There's no question. One of the reasons we were able to win 9 games that year and win a share of the Big Sky Championship and go to the playoffs. I mean, that family of plays alone really put us over the hump. You know, as people in conference see it more and more, you know, based on their front, the 4-3 front, it's a loop scheme. You know, the 4-4 front, we have kind of a mid-to-mid family. We have a specific mid-pitch for 4-3. We have a specific mid-pitch where rules change for 4-4. And we have a specific mid-pitch we use against 3-4, you know. And so it is kind of expensive to a certain extent. But again, we went back and we look at the explosiveness of the play when we are able to get it pitched. I mean, it's a really effective play. We do carry only when we're getting a balanced box. So if we're getting those, you know, a balanced box, 2 split linebackers, you know, which gives us stuff. We'll run true midline triple. We'll loop release the guard, and really read our way there. Now he's protected. That guard that's loop releasing is blocking for the quarterback on that box linebacker. I'll kind of, you know, when we get to those clips against that look, I'll show you how we would do mid-triple. All right? So in terms of just base midline, let me see which way we run this first. Good. Okay, starting at the point of attack. So going first off by rule, the dive key is going to be the first play side defensive tackle, not to include a zero nose. Okay, by rule. Starting at the point of attack, it is, for the guard, he is now veering, all right, he is now veering the dive key. And his veer is a little different than the tackle. You know, he's gonna veer, when we tell him to veer, if it's a 3 or a 2 technique, his veer is gonna look just like a tackle's an inside veer on triple, all right? Beat a 2 or a 3, that's what we tell him. So same thing, inside step, second step, gain ground, pick up the towel, all right? And you now have, A-gap track, all right? So it's veer A-gap. If it's a 1 technique, and I'll show you a good example why, if it's a 1 technique, we want him to step inside, all right, and on his veer, we don't want him to pick up the towel, we want him to lift. Reason for that with a 1 technique is, again, I talked about we get a lot of DT movement. So if we get a 1 technique that steps outside to a 3 and then plays back in, it's a difficult read for the quarterback. And so it cleans it up. If he veers, he steps in and up, and he lifts, it kind of cleans it up for the quarterback, and he'll feel naturally air inside down the midline. All right, as opposed to that guy veering inside, the guy steps out and then kind of plays back in. It's pretty tough to feel. Versus a shade, all right, versus a shade, he's going to angle drive him. He's going to block a shade. So again, his thought process as we work through these, veer is veer A gap, right? Beat a 2 or a 3, lift versus a 1, drive a shade. Yeah, and that's also going to impact the thought process of the dive back, the H back. It's essentially going to turn it into a cowboy or a load, right? Yeah, he's just going to lift. And so that's gonna, should create some air for the quarterback to feel. I've got a couple good clips of that, okay, on here. So again, it's, from the quarterback reading the dive, the track of the fullback is going to be the crack of the ass of the center, okay, right down the crack, true midline. Okay, quarterback's footwork on this is going to be ball back, pull back, all right? What I mean by that, and I didn't get to it in my last clip, but it's on that, is some guys bucket step and then step out. I don't feel like the ball gets back very fast, and a lot of times that bucket step, they don't get off and give you the true midline very well. So we just kind of pivot on that step, and I tell them to really pull, if we're running midline 12, pull this foot back and off. And we always do it on a line, so they end up feeling it, and they can see, like, check on a line. Are you good? Yeah. So I just want him to take this foot and pull it back and off and get his feet down. And again, not only pull the foot, but ball back, pull back, right? I want to pull the ball, straight lines, you receive the snap. Pull the ball back and off, all right? And then he should still have good lean and be right down the crack. He may still baby ride step, all right, and step to ride. Okay, the quarterback's going to be, in terms of reading the dive key, ride down the crack. Okay, I want him to tight clear into the B gap, all right? So in terms of the double option, the dive back has the play side A gap. The quarterback is running in the B gap. Okay, to block and secure for the dive, all right, on this, the center and the guard have a cage. All right, they have cage rules. So where essentially these two are responsible for the first backside defensive lineman, or backside defensive tackle, all right, and the backside linebacker. All right, so again, with a shade, he should step inside and work to the backside linebacker. With a 1 technique, they'll step together on that cage, get movement, and if that 1 stays a 1, the guard should overtake it, and the center should be up to the backside linebacker. If it's a 2 or a 3, center should just check step, work to the backside linebacker. All right? Okay, working back to the front side then, in terms of who's blocking now for the quarterback. All right, first off, the tackle, his rule is you block the dive key +1. All right, so he's got to always look inside and see what's the first thing on the guard. The rule becomes very particular when we start getting those unbalanced formations. He really needs to see who's the dive key. Because I have the dive key +1, and these looks and spread, it's pretty clean. Dive key +1. All right, my job now is B gap. So it's block the dive key +1 and create the B gap. So he's going to use a high wall technique. He's going to aggressive inside step and attack the inside shoulder and just try to create as big a B gap as he possibly can. It's not so important that he gets a lot of movement as much as he just creates a B gap. The guy goes high. Don't really get too caught up into it. All right. The slot is in this look is going to block for the quarterback. So he has what we call a blast track. All right. So he is B gap blast the point linebacker. And again, it's one of those things. If the point linebacker to run out, don't chase. Just stay on track. It's B gap blast. All right. Stay vertical on track to the point linebacker. I will say, like, in terms of identifying schemes and key matchups, right? What's your key blocking matchup in this that you have to evaluate? You got to evaluate your slot on the point linebacker. That's a big matchup. All right. Okay. On the backside, of part of the tackle's tied into the cage rules. On the backside of this, he's responsible for backside B gap. All right, backside B gap defender. On the outside receivers, we're just man stock blocks, get to the inside shoulder, compete. And so, we got some unblocked defenders, so it's going to get into kind of where we're doing some different things. So within this first game, I'm going to show you the front side slot is going to counter motion, and he is going to, which do I start? Okay, never mind. This first scheme, we're going to get long motion from the backside, and he's going to simulate pitch phase. All right. So if you look at this scheme, when things kind of made sense to me, there is no D gap blocker in this scheme, right? So you got to influence the D gap defender within fronts. This is kind of philosophical. It made sense to me and why we do different things we do. No D gap blocker, so we need to influence the D gap. We can't account for that guy falling in and making plays. And then two, there's nobody blocking any safety support in the box. And whether you go long motion and he's running and someone else is rolling over, or it's a different scheme where maybe he's chasing and he's just mirroring the quarterback. Those different looks. There should be a safety hat in the box, and we can't account for that safety hat in the box, and we can't account for a D gap. All right? Does that make sense? Okay, so the way we have these different variations about influencing these fronts. So within this, in this 4-4 scheme, we're getting a lot of like cross keys. So when he goes in motion, his eyes, oh man, let me see what we started with. Okay, I got to back up. So within 4-4, he goes in motion. A lot of guys are doing this with this middle safety is cross keying. He goes in motion. You see the front side slot. He's going to take you to the play. I.e., he arcs. It's a perimeter play. You go. He seals vertical. Okay, you're going to fit over the top for triple, right? He goes back. Guess what? It's counter option, right? It's going to take me back to the play. Okay, that's, it makes sense. It's a sound way to coach that, correct? You guys with me? So within this scheme, this is one of those ways to take advantage of that. If he's cross keying and his eyes are going here, he's now going to arc to the D gap, right? Which we're really trying to pull the front side safety and eliminate that safety in the hole. The backside slot now is going to leave on the go. All right, so he's going a little bit longer motion. His aiming point, he's trying to get to the heels of the H, okay, at the snap, and he's going to be tight wrap, B-gap blast. The same thing I talked about. One of these slots is always going to be B-gap blast, vertical track to the point linebacker. So again, built into the cadence. Good job, B-gap blast. We did a good job in this scheme. We're pretty good, now with the front side D-gap. We didn't quite get, they didn't really cross key it. We got him shuffling a little bit, but we didn't really get him running. So it's kind of telling me too that his eyes are a little bit inside, but he is soft. The one thing about this you'll notice, he's shuffling over and then he's playing back. He's soft. He's not a hard hat in the box. So I'm good with this. Okay, this is a good job of the point of attack. Guard has veer A-gap. Okay, he's got a 3 technique again, so he's going to 1-step, 2-step, vertical, pick up the towel, run his A-gap track, backside linebacker ends up working over the top, shows up on his track. All right, take a look at the center in the cage. Well, let me come back to the slot. This blast block, pretty good. Again, it's a matchup block. We can cut in the hole. I'm sure this will drive and direct your usages a little bit. And we do tell him, like, if he's fast downhill, cut him in the hole. But we've gotten away from him expecting to cut every time. You know, like, you know, part of it to me is, depending on the matchup, like, he's got 4.5 yards of steam. You got a big B gap, and go give him what you got. Like, man up, you know, let your balls drag on the ground, build a base, strike and drive on the rise, and just get movement. You know, get wash. We don't expect you to win and dominate the block, but get a hat on a hat. Okay, if he is hard, fast in the hole, cut him. So again, tight clear. I tell him tight into the B gap. Again, in general, right, you would say tightest he could play is replacing the dive key. All right. Now, I still have him kind of step flat sometimes and then get into it because, you know, that, again, the read, I like him to have a little bit of air so that he can get downhill. And so that he can feel, it creates a little bit of space for him to run on that blast block too and kind of feel air in the B gap. This is a great job with the, you know, on the creating the big B gap on the high wall technique. Again, frontside tackle's got B gap. He attacks the inside shoulder, gain ground, inside step, get his butt in the hole. Pretty decent job. I'd like to see, I think Kenny, these guys are pretty tight in here. If Kenny arcs a little faster, a little more tempo, he probably gets more stretch and makes this easier on himself. And so again, I told the quarterback, expect the safety in the hole, man. That's yours to beat. He's yours. Ryan, we ran a ton of G-Blast, right? We ran zone, we ran everything. Ryan played tailback. He was from my junior, senior, he was our freshman, sophomore tailback. And now he's in the Hall of Fame at Portland State. You know, I'm not, but I did a great job of handing it off to him while I was there, right? But, you know, within those schemes, it's not a whole lot different than when we ran zone, when we ran blast. We always told you got one to miss, right? You got to make a safety miss. He's yours. There's going to be a free hitter. You know, and it's really, you know, within this scheme, that's what I tell him. You're going to have one to make miss. Okay, backside cage, pretty good job. The guard's covered, so he's going to attack via the neck. Backside guard doing a good job. He's still check step, A-gap. And again, it's still check step, A-gap tracks, right? Again, this is one of those schemes where you can get into trouble. Very big scheme for us where you have to coach. Do not cross over into somebody else's tracks. Stay vertical on your tracks. This thing happens so fast. You know, we get some high lows in there, you know, over the years. And it's just about telling these guys, trust your track. So again, you two are responsible for backside A-gap and the play side defensive tackle. Or the backside defensive tackle. So good job in just staying on his track. Again, not as much, you know, in a man-oriented scheme inside. Very much a track play. I love it. You know, veer A-gap, get vertical. Backside linebacker shows up in the A-gap. You got him. You know, backside tackle, check step, A-gap, work vertical. He gets off your track, stay vertical, look for anything coming. Okay, really good job at quarterback. You know, good. Big ride, big read. Got a lot of time. Good. Tight into the B gap, running off the block. Good job with his pad level. This early in the game, Coach Tuatelli's probably, you know, I can't remember specifically, you know, exactly what he's looking to see. I'm trying to remember what play in the game is this. Play 24. He might. I think with the motion, he's probably looking to see. You know, that's actually a good point. I know what we're looking at. When he motions, I'm looking to see where I'm trying to, and I'm up in here trying to look at the influence on the three support players. Like just trying to get a big picture feel. Like right now when he goes, he's not leaving. That's big news to me because in this front, a lot of times you get a chaser or a rotator, right? So that's telling me, yeah, within this, that he's probably going to be a quarterback mirror player. So when you don't get a chaser that's close in the middle, he's probably going to be a shuffle and try to out-leverage the quarterback and just play and read windows like an inside linebacker would inside out. All right, that's what that's telling me. So get into the 3 technique. This is a really good job on the backside blast block now of him running his B-gap track. He's got good tempo. He's checking. There's no color on track, right? Just stay vertical, stay on track, and he ends up getting the cut on the extra hatch. And when you look at this, again, you tell the quarterback, hey, there's always going to be somebody there, but then there's not. And this has a chance to score. And this really pisses me off. Why did it not score? Look at this. Blocks matter, man. Do your job. Your job on this block is the stock to get to a 1, which means get inside out on the corner and kick his ass. We have a tagline we use. Like, we kind of started this thing with the wideouts, as they're called, the get some crew. Like, we're gonna get some and get some more, and it became kind of a motto for us. Like, Full Metal Jacket, and the guys been playing like get some, right? And it kind of became this motto, and not that that's a great scene by any means in the movie. Like, it's pretty